And this is it. This is the official launch of the Kia EV6. We've been waiting a long time for it. First and foremost, price and range. Well, it's just been announced, but I can tell you that this bucket of Korean magnificence will set you back just shy of $110,000. That's because this is the GT line. This is at the moment the top spec model. But for that, it'll do 484 Ks on a charge. There are versions that are much more affordable and even go further per charge. And we'll get to that in a second, but first, check out this machine. Kia have used some really interesting design cues like this sweeping line here, which they say gives the impression the car is longer, but it doesn't need that impression because it's a long beast. It is 4.7 meters long and it's 1.9 meters wide. Now, all the cool little design cues here aren't just for aesthetics. You've got things like this sweeping gap here, which increases aerodynamic flow. This cool lighting effect here reminds me of the sci-fi ship, the Orville. But this is all again done not only for aesthetics, but for increasing aerodynamic flow. And underneath each little rear wing here is an external light, which they say creates ambience and enhances the shapes of the car, which admittedly does look pretty cool. But what's it like to drive? Well, let's jump in the inside and have a look. Oh, look at that, fully reclinable seats. Now this is a lot like the Ioniq 5, and I'm gonna bring this up and compare it a lot because it's kind of the same car as the Ioniq 5, but it's also really not. But if it's anything like the Ioniq 5, it will have fully reclinable seats. Oh, look at that. That is not really very dignified, is it? Now the Ioniq 5 also had a center display that was completely movable, and I don't think this one is, even though it does share the same eGMP floor platform. As for controls, they've changed things around a little bit. It's kind of similar to the Ioniq 5 from Hyundai. It's got a very cool joined display here of two 12-inch screens side by side, much like the Ioniq 5, but the dashboard design is very different, much more sweeping, much darker. You've got actual knobs, unlike the Ioniq 5, which is a little bit easier while driving. Center console is full of controls, where in the Ioniq 5 it was a bit more bland. Otherwise, it's a really ergonomic feeling car. I do get the feeling though that like the Hyundai Ioniq 5, it's going to have the same problem where the first display here, this 12-inch display, is partially obscured by the steering wheel. That we'll figure out when we actually get to drive it. But there is a whole lot more, and for that, I'm going to use a voiceover.
Yes, the creature comforts in this car are on another level, starting with things like a household power outlet under the back seat for any appliance you can think of, as well as a device that plugs into the charging port and allows you to use this vehicle like a four-wheel power supply, ideal for camping or in an emergency, or even charging another car. It also has heated and cooled front seats, adjustable lumbar support, a sunroof, a 14-speaker sound system, and interior upholstery made from recycled plastics. As for the back seat, it's incredibly roomy owing to its almost 3-meter long wheelbase, longer than the wheelbase in a Toyota Land Cruiser. It also has a boot big enough for a body and a tiny little front luggage space, which is really only big enough for a handful of potatoes. Now, as I mentioned, until the GT version arrives in 2023, this is currently the top spec model with dual motors and 239 kilowatts, giving a 0 to 100 time of 5.2 seconds. But there are more affordable options available, two of which are priced low enough to qualify for the Clean Car rebate of $8,625. Charging speed is also impressive, with this machine able to charge at 235 kilowatts, meaning a 10 to 80% charge takes around 18 minutes. And here comes a plug, if you charge this vehicle using electricity from Ecotricity, New Zealand's only certified carbon zero electricity provider, meaning it's 100% renewable, then you'll be driving on the right side of history. So if you understand what's happening with the climate right now, head to ecotricity.co.nz and make the smart move today. But for now, back to the car and, more importantly, how it drives.
Already the similarities between this and the Ioniq 5 are striking, and I'm going to mention the Ioniq 5 a lot because it is sort of the same car. It still runs on the eGMP platform, so it's kind of like a skateboard on wheels with a battery pack in between. What I'm keen to know though is if the suspension is harder, because this one has been tuned for the Australasian market. Oh, here we go. Okay, every time I get in a new car, I end up hitting the indicators or the wipers instead of the one I want. Already I can feel the weight of this car. I haven't got the specs on it, but I imagine if it's anything like the Ioniq 5, it's going to be about 2.2 tons, same as that. And that, just with that center of gravity down low, already it gives you that sort of well, I can't say the name of the brand, but it sounds like Pole's Poise, that sort of car. Already what I like about this car, however, is that the controls are knobs. Unlike the Tesla Model 3 or the Ioniq 5, everything here I can control without looking. I don't have to take my eyes off the road, but I will because I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm just turning the radio up and down. Once I get onto the open road, I'll be able to actually test the suspension, see if it does hunker down. Supposedly, Kia have put a lot of money and effort into adapting the suspension system for New Zealand and Australian conditions, so we'd be keen to see if it's any rougher and tougher than the Ioniq 5. There is a lot more gadgetry in this car, and I would love to show you all of it, but this is a very limited test drive. We've only got this car for an hour or so each, so give me time. When this car is released to the public and to the press, very, very shortly it will be, I'll be able to take it home and give it a proper rating, and especially test the potato storage capacity, which, as you know, is vital for customers' potato-related needs. See, I can see in my heads-up display, it just read that 50 sign, and now it's changed to 60. So its little eyes are watching. But 60 is still nowhere near as much fun as I need right now. Wait for the open road and put this thing through its paces, chuck it into a couple of corners. Obviously I won't get a real feel for it until I can have it for a day or 3. That will come. Give me time. Now, it's early days, but already it feels like that suspension is harder. It is a little harder, definitely built for the New Zealand/Australian market. See if I can find a decent corner. Oh, here we go. Hold on your seats. Actually, that's effortless. That's not bad at all. It's deceptive because you feel like it's a heavy car. Maybe it'll wallow in the corners, but no, that low center of gravity, that massive battery pack slung right down alongside the road, it really holds well. It's deceptive. It doesn't feel, as you're approaching the corner, like it's going to handle quite as well as it does. Then it just comes straight back out the other side, begging for more. Oh yeah, that's all right. Quite like to get my hand on this for a bit longer, actually. What about the regen braking? Let's give this a go. Maximum regen. Woo, that is slowing down quite quick. So obviously it can do one pedal driving, like many electric cars that are built nowadays, but you can also control the regen braking, turn it off, and now it just coasts with my foot off the accelerator. Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. Now obviously I can change the drive mode, just like in the Ioniq 5, to sport mode. Now immediately it's much more responsive, and with maximum regen on and sport mode on, it also increases the volume of the noise generator, which sounds pretty cool, and you can change that as well. Oh, this is fun. Now the marketing guy at Kia said that, oh, you'll be smiling when you finish driving this, and I thought, oh yeah, right. I think he might be right. I have to admit defeat, he's right, I'm wrong. I am really enjoying this. Oops. Nothing. Oh, there's a truck. Let's accelerate. All right, ready?
0 to 100 in.
Whew, that was great. That's the only 0 to 100 chance I'll have, so I had to use it. Whew. That's been an interesting drive. The thing is, when I showed up to this EV6 launch, because I'm dead inside, I thought, yeah, it's just going to be another car launch. I saw the headlines that said that this car was, one of the best cars other reviewers have seen in years, one of the best cars they've driven in ages, so naturally I was skeptical. But now that I've seen how it drives and the R&D that's gone into it, it really is something special. Now, Kia haven't exactly bet the farm on this vehicle, but they've bet the reputation of the farm on this vehicle. So whether or not it succeeds or not is ultimately up to you and your wallets, but my advice is to go and check it out because it's something special.